MMA fighting here at UFC Phoenix Media Day, speaking with James Vick, who fights Paul Felder in the lightweight co-main event here on Sunday. And James, just first of all, I mean, you just had your first face-off with Paul. I'm just curious, what did you see there? It seemed pretty friendly.
Yeah, we don't have any, remorse against each other. We're both just going to go try to win on Sunday. I didn't really feel anything, looked into his eyes, he looked into mine. I mean, he's not scared, I'm not scared, I think we're both prepared.
Well, I want to ask you about this weekend because it is a big weekend for the UFC. It is really the proper start of the ESPN era for them. I mean, growing up, were you an ESPN guy? Like, does this mean anything a little extra, a little special for you to be on this event?
Yeah, for sure. I was a big basketball player growing up, so I always watched SportsCenter and all the NBA games, and then I always watched Friday Night Fights growing up. I watched Friday Night Fights since I was a kid, and it's pretty cool to be fighting on ESPN now after all those years of watching that and watching, Teddy Atlas and all those guys, Joe Tessitore commentate all the time and stuff, and now it's super cool to be fighting on ESPN.
Well, I want to ask, because, it has been a little bit of a rough stretch for you. I'm just curious, what have the last 6 months been like for you? I mean, you worked so hard to get to that second shot and then have that happen. For people who don't understand, what does it take to mentally be able to handle something like that and pick yourself back up and get back on the horse like this?
Yeah, it's not tough to get back in the gym, to get back training, to get back to what you love, to even sign fight and get ready to sign a fight and get ready to fight. Obviously it's the thing that hurt the most was the opportunity I blew and I lost. You know what I mean? Because I felt like twice as long as most people to get that opportunity. And then when I got it, I blew it. So, I can't blame anybody but myself. But, I've lost before, anybody who loses a fight and can't get over it is mentally weak. You know what I'm saying? I've lost before. That fight ain't going to have shit to do with Sunday night.
Sure. Do you have, what type of internal conversations, I guess, do you have to move past it? Or is it something that you feel you can move past quickly?
My mind is strong. My mind is strong. I'm not mentally weak. I'm very mentally strong, and shit happens, I backed up in the cage too far, and I was too close to the cage and didn't have any room to circle out, and I got caught, by a heavy puncher that has a lot of knockout finishes, and I assessed what I did wrong, went back, tried to fix it as best I could, and then just went back to critique those little things and went back to what I always do, what I did is not wrong. Just because you get caught don't mean you change everything. My record speaks for itself, I've won way more fights than I've ever lost in boxing, kickboxing, or MMA. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and keep progressing my skill set.
Well, you basically went from one fight to another, complete opposites, right? Because you go from that fight against Justin, lots of talk. There was a lot of trash talk back and forth. This one with Paul, it's been very respectful. It seems like you guys respect each other. You have even said that. Is that refreshing for you to not have to be that trash talker, to not have that sort of animosity in the matchup?
It doesn't really matter. If you could look back at most of my fights, I haven't trash talked most of the guys I fought. I said what I had to say to get the fight with Justin Gaethje, because if I wouldn't have talked trash on social media, even a year before we made that fight, I talked some trash about Justin Gaethje on social media. If I wouldn't have said those things, I would have never got the fight. And then when we were at the press conference, they asked me a question, I answered it, and he came at me. He came at me first, so I rebutted, and I felt like my trash talk was really good. So that's why, we got as much attention from that as we did. And yeah, it backfired on me, but I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change that because I did what I had to do to get the fight, and I did what I had to do to promote the fight.
Well, now you're facing Paul. I wonder who is Paul Felder as a fighter to you? He was on a nice little run at 155 before he had to go up to welterweight for that short notice fight. What do you see in him when you look at him as an opponent?
He's a tough dude. He's very well rounded. He's skilled everywhere. Doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. But I think that all of his strengths are my strengths, but I'm better at them. I think I'm better, and I think that the only chance he has to win this fight is to land a big bomb like Gaethje did. That's the only chance he has. He's not going to submit me. He's not going to win a decision. I can win knockout, decision, or submission. The only chance he has is to land a big bomb, in my opinion.
When you look at the overall landscape of this lightweight division, it seems like it is so backed up at this point, right? And there's so many contenders trying to claw up to get these rankings, get these spots. Do you see a path? Just when you look at the overall path, do you see generally a path to get to where you want to go?
I don't see a path right now. I don't know. I said this even had I won the Gaethje fight, I would still probably be fighting Felder right now or someone ranked below me. There's no one ranked above me that's not tied up or not holding out or already booked. You know what I'm saying? So when I win this fight on Sunday, I don't know what to do after this, honestly, because I don't see anybody ranked above me that I'm going to get an opportunity to fight, to be honest with you. So we'll see what happens.
Is that frustrating? Is that a frustrating place to be?
It's been frustrating. It's been frustrating. But it is what it is. You got to deal with the world the way it is instead of the way you wish it would be. So, that's all you can do is just go out there, do your job, and then wait for the next opportunity to come up.
Well, it's funny because you watch the ins and outs of the sport. You follow the ins and outs of the sport, I think, more than most fighters and even maybe more than most fans. I'm just curious for your perspective on the division as a whole. If Khabib decides to stay out for 9 months, as maybe he will do, as he said that he will, what do you think should happen with this title picture at this point? Do we do an interim? Like, how do you think this should play out?
I don't know. I don't think he's going to sit out. I think the UFC is going to lift the suspension of his teammates, going to figure something out so they can get him back. If he does, then they might do an interim title. I don't know if they should. I mean, I respect Khabib for sticking up for his boys like that. I 100% respect him on that. I don't think they were. I don't think it was a wrong incident. That's what happens when people pay to watch a fight, then they get mad when a fight breaks out. I mean, what do you expect? This is the fight business. But if he does set out, I bet they probably do an interim title for sure, and I don't know who's going to fight for it. I mean, definitely I think Tony Ferguson should get a chance. I mean, the dude's won 13 fights in a row. So I don't know.
So you don't fault Khabib for what he did at 229. You kind of understand where he's coming from, it seems like.
100%, yeah. I mean, what do you expect? You know what I'm saying? You talk, I get it, I mean, what do you expect? He talked about the dude's family, his father, I mean, of course, some people can't just turn that off after the fight, so you got to understand the individual you're dealing with or whatever, and sometimes people's gonna do what they do and go crazy like that, and I mean, I don't really think that he should get in major trouble for that. I mean, no one got hurt. Let's be realistic. It's not like they're like, oh, well, this could have happened, this could have happened. Well, it didn't, though. No one really got hurt, and nothing came of it.
Well, then my final two questions. I mean, we were talking yesterday about maybe, but the option is there for you for 170, but you would prefer 165, and that would be the ideal. And you're not alone in that regard in any way. I'm just curious, what do you think it would finally take for the UFC and Dana White to move forward with that 165-pound division? Is it someone like a Conor McGregor trying to push that issue forward, or is what do you think it would take for the UFC to change their mind?
Honestly, I don't know, because, I mean, even with McGregor's not big. He's not a big lightweight, you know what I'm saying? So him for 65 is not a necessity. He didn't have to go up, you know what I'm saying? He can make 55 for another 5 years probably or longer, So I guess, I don't know. I mean, it's going to, basically they're just going to have to see that they can make money from the division, adding that division, and they have to believe in it. Once Dana gets behind it, then, he makes the final decision, the rest is history.
Sure. Well, then my final question, just a simple one. I mean, what does Sunday look like for James Vick? How does James Vick get it done?
My hand gets raised. I'm not sure yet. Honestly, I visualize. I'm a big visual person. I visualize winning a lot of ways. Felder's hard. He's hard to finish. He's never been finished, but like I said, the only way he wins this fight is by a big bomb. I can win this fight in multiple ways. He's not going to win a decision. I know for a fact that I win a decision against him. I can basically, I'm not going to go out there and try to outpoint the dude and run away. Obviously, I wouldn't even be able to the way he fights. We're gonna engage, but I'm going to look for the finish. But if not, I'm for sure going to win a decision.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the time, man, and good luck this weekend.